Galaxy 666 by Pel Toro. Session 24.
Oski opened his eyes to find himself sitting amid a heap of tangled gray steel and alloys that had once been the Space Greyhound. To have said the ship was in a mess would have been putting it mildly, and the tangle that had once been the ship had now become a trap for the imprisoned crewmen. Oski began coming to grips with the environment in which he now found himself. It was not an environment for which he particularly cared. There are better places to wake up with a voluminous headache than amid a pile of tangled steel and alloys that was once your ship. The alloys of which ships are built are chosen for their tensile strength, their resilience, and their ability to withstand pressures. If they will withstand the rigors and the strains of space, they are almost equally capable of withstanding the rigors of a desperate man who is trying to escape from them. It was like one of those fiendishly ingenious metal puzzles where two seemingly innocuous pieces of metal are put together, sometimes three, and the puzzler has to sort them out. Bronit opened his eyes, as did Korzaak. Ishklah recovered consciousness.
"We're all alive, then,"
said Bronit, looking round bewilderedly.
"You speak for yourself,"
said Oski.
"I've got a head that feels like vulture food right now."
"You never were handsome," said Bronit, "even at your best." "Praise to the 7 green moons for all the little comedians with which they bestow the planet so generously," said Korzaak. "Ha ha ha," said Bronit. "You amaze me. The frustration of this galaxy brought you to the verge of a crack-up. We cave in, and here in this tangle of steel which may well be our coffin, you sit and laugh."
"We have different weaknesses,"
said Oski.
"It's a good job some of us can surmount situations which are impossible for others."
Bronit was grinning again.
"There's nothing really heroic about doing something which you can do easily. I'd have been a hero if I could have kept on top of my frustration. I'm not a hero for laughing in this mess because it strikes me as being incongruous."
"It makes me want to scream," said Korzaak.
"I'll echo that sentiment,"
said Ishklah, and tugged desperately at the steel and the alloys of the bent and crumpled fuselage which wrapped around him.
"It's a wonder, of course, we're not all dead,"
said Bronit.
"It's almost as if some huge invisible hand had crumpled the ship around us as it thought best, just for the fun of it, as though it wanted to show us its power without killing us."
Could very definitely be,"
said Oski.
"Do you believe in powers of that kind?" asked Ishklah.
"Why not?"
said Oski.
"Very interesting," said Ishklah. "Very, very interesting indeed."
"A strange place to discuss religion, isn't it?" asked Bronit.
"Nowhere is a strange place to discuss religion," said Ishklah. "Not really. Religion is the one real thing in a transitory universe."
"That's a strange sentiment for a computer engineer."
"Why?"
asked Korzaak.
"Aren't computer engineers entitled to have sentiments? Aren't we entitled to have our beliefs just as much as the philosopher is entitled to his?"
"Well, sure you are,"
said Bronit, struggling with the metal that held him down.
"But most of the computer engineers I've met are atheists or agnostics, calling themselves free thinkers, and heaven knows what else."
"There are very few people whose mental chains hold them more tightly than free thinkers," smiled the computer engineer. "Atheism, even agnosticism, can become a kind of substitute for religion, and the humanitarian atheist is guilty of the paradox of spending his entire life proving that there is a God, and his entire breath proving that there isn't."
"That's pretty deep," said Oski, pulling at the buckled bars in front of his legs. "Oh, look at this bulkhead strapping," said Bronit suddenly. "This piece round my wrist, like a strap. What miracle ensured that this piece came as tight as that, and no tighter? A few inches more would have cut me in half. A few inches less, and I should have been able to get clear."
"Can you bend any of these?" grunted Korzaak.
Bronit shook his head.
"Not a thing," he said. "I've got no luck either," said Oski.
Ishklah and Korzaak looked at one another.
"There is a way out,"
said Korzaak. Bronit and Oski looked at the two problem experts in bewilderment.
"A way out?"
asked Bronit. Korzaak nodded.
"If we don't get out," said Ishklah, "we shall lie here till we starve to death."
"Agreed," said Bronit.
"How much is your life worth to you?"
asked Korzaak.
"I'm still young enough to say it's worth a lot," said Oski.
"Me too," agreed Bronit.
"Ishklah and I can get you out," said Korzaak, "but to do so, we must reveal something which we would prefer not to reveal to anybody. Is your life worth a pledge of absolute secrecy? When I say absolute, I mean absolute.
Bronit and Oski looked at each other.
I always thought there was something a little bit odd about you two. What is this secret?
Ishklah smiled.
The less you know, the better, he said. Close your eyes and promise not to open them until we tell you. I think we can get out. If it's all clear, we can pull you free.
Bronit and Oski looked at each other.
Fair enough, said Bronit. I'm quite prepared to forget that it ever happened.
And you, Oski?
Said Ishklah.
Me too,
said Oski. Captain and crewmen closed their eyes.
No matter what you hear, said Ishklah, do not open your eyes at all.
Right, said Bronit.
We trust you,
said Ishklah.
Shan't let you down,
said Oski. He and Bronit kept their eyes tightly shut.
Talk to each other to take your mind off what we're doing, said Ishklah.
Right, said Bronit. Let's play chess. You and I have an imaginary board. Visualize the whole lot.
Right. I'm white,
agreed his companion.
Pawn to king 4.
Pawn to king 4 reply, said Bronit. There were strange, inexplicable sounds, among them the sounds of bending metal, the snap of metal breaking off. Grunts and groans, the sound of furious effort were heard, and an occasional grunt of pain. Bronit and Oski forced all their attention back to their invisible chess game. They made several moves.
Check,
said Oski. A bishop takes knight, replied Bronit.
Queen takes bishop,
said Oski. Blast, I hadn't realized that, said Bronit. They paused. Castle queen side.
Knight to king rook 7.
All right, you can open your eyes,
said a voice very close to Bronit's head. The captain opened his eyes. Ishklah and Korzaak stood smiling amid the tangle of wreckage.
Yes, we're free,
they said.
Well, I'll be damned,
said Oski.
Or you will be if you don't forget it in about 3 seconds.
What happened?
As far as you are concerned, we struggled free in the normal way, and that's all there is to it. If you can, why can't we? You just didn't struggle hard enough. Now forget it,
said Ishklah, and his voice held an undertone of authority that could not be denied. It brooked no denial. It would tolerate no denial. Ishklah and Korzaak took hold of the tangled metal that imprisoned their two companions, and combining their strength and directing it at one spot, focusing it at one place, they began to make progress. It was a slow and laborious job. It was an hour and a half before all 4 men were able to get out of the wreck.
Of course, one of the minor miracles of this planet, said Ishklah suddenly,
is the atmosphere, said Bronit. I just thought of that. It seems very pleasant.
Now that we've got an opportunity to appreciate its aesthetic merits, said Oski, I'm inclined to agree. It is extremely pleasant. I was so concerned about getting myself out of the tangle on the ship that I never realized that all the time we lay there, we were breathing.
A noxious atmosphere would have been the end of us, said Korzaak.
Darn queer planet,
said Oski.
I think it's got a lot more surprises waiting for us,
said Ishklah, and the 4 men set off together into the unknown, leaving the stricken ship behind them.
Here ends Session 24.